Welcome to the Grantland Summer Movie Preview.
This is a little game we like to call Chris versus Chris versus Chris versus Chris with Chris Connelly.
I'll take on all comers. It's a cage match.
And Wesley Chris Morris.
I'm just going
to say it again. This is the last time I'm ever going to have 4 Chris's in my lap. I'm so excited.
So we're going to decide between Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt. Who's the other Chris?
Chris Pine.
And Chris Pine. There's so many Chris's,
tough.
I can't even remember the 4 Chris's.
I'm going to crush this game.
The 4 Chris's. We're gonna break this down by categories that we created 5 minutes ago. The first category is bragging rights right now. Who has bragging rights right now out of the 4 Chris's?
Sexiest man alive. Period. Paragraph.
Oh, wow.
Sexiest man alive. And he's Thor, but he's also sexiest man alive.
So we have 2 Chris Pratts and 1 Chris Hemsworth. Now,
Yes.
why did you veer away from us?
Because he is the sexiest man alive.
And
he
you think that
is,
trumps any other quality?
that you can work and do a lot of things.
Are you talking about People Magazine, or are you speaking?
I'm talking about People Magazine. He's also in the Avengers, which means he's set for life. And it's like marrying an heiress.
So is this guy. Chris Evans
is also, that's right, he's from Boston.
But
he's the best tweeter of the group, I'd say. He's on Twitter a lot. He tweets like, about Boston and Herman Hesse novels and things
I think Chris Pratt is our winner because we're talking about right now. This is the guy that I think the most people are the most curious about, and I think he's the person that people are most excited to see what else he can do.
He's no doubt that he is Hollywood's flavor of the month right now.
Yes.
It's like if there's a script with a guy in it, his fingerprints are the first ones on it.
Rom-com, an action movie.
Right. It's right.
Lethal Weapon remake.
Does Chris Pratt want to do it? I still say, though, with Avengers, making
I love
money.
this guy from Rush. That's one of my movies. That's one of my rewatchables.
Also,
next
he's got
one.
a brother.
Leading manhood. Best leading man of these 4.
Ooh!
Boston in the house.
I could have gone either way with either one of those guys, but I'm going with the Pine because I saw Into the Woods, and I think that if you give this guy a dinner party scene to make his way, one of those 25-minute dinner party scenes, he's a star. I think if you give him the right actress, he's a star. I think if you give him something that isn't some cast-off Harrison Ford, Tom Clancy reboot thing, he's a star.
I mean, he is so good looking and in a way so charming. It's kind of unclear whether or not he's going to play heroes or villains down the road.
Yeah.
Because he has such...
This is a face that could go either way.
Yeah, he has such suavity that like Hollywood sometimes takes that in the opposite direction. So I'd say we don't really know. I remember him in People Like Us, right? Which reminded me so much of like half of a Tom Cruise sort of character.
Yes.
That sort of like brother with the big secret.
Here's what happens. One of these guys, if not 3 of them, is going to get market corrected by the other Chris's. If Chris Pratt wins, for instance, then Chris Pine is stuck in the category that you just put him in.
But these are two different guys.
The interesting thing is, with the exception of Hemsworth, I think all 3 of these guys could do the same things.
So you think there might be a market Chris section?
Right. I think they're not interchangeable, but I think their talents. I think he's funny. I think he's funny, and I think he's funny.
Do you know why I picked Chris Evans?
Tell me.
So rented Snowpiercer on VOD right when it was becoming a thing on the recommendation
Last
of a couple
summer's
Grantland
tragedy.
lunatics.
Yes.
Why?
Because nobody saw it. It was misreleased.
So I'm watching the movie. And I didn't watch the opening credits because I was watching my kids at the same time and setting them up.
This is going to be good.
The directors love to hear that.
35, 40 minutes in, I'm like, this leading man's great. Like, why can't Hollywood find leading men like this? This guy's awesome. And then finally, I'm like, I can get my iPad, see who this guy is. This guy's like, I can't wait to tell people this is like the next guy. It was Chris Evans. I had no idea he was the leading man.
This is another example of why, we can talk about this later, Robert Downey Jr. is the most important actor of the 21st century because he is the guy who made it cool to be in all these Marvel movies. And that's what that guy owes his bankability to. And that's exactly what Robert Downey Jr. told him. You don't want to be in these movies, I understand that. But if you get in these movies, you'll get to do what you want. You're right that Evans has, we're going to kind of wait to see what he wants to do.
Right.
I don't think he wants to fit into a mold like that. He wants to direct. He has some, feelings about the smaller projects he wants to do. But he'll get the opportunity because he's been in the Avengers.
So you're saying he has best chance to turn into a douche?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he's an interesting
Sorry.
guy.
I was putting
Also,
words in your mouth.
I'm going to say also on Chris Evans and a little bit of Chris Pine, I think Jake Gyllenhaal is in the way of some of these people too.
Oh,
in terms of getting
double market correction.
in terms of getting some parts. I think that there's just some things like if Jake Gyllenhaal's up for a part that Chris Evans is up for, I don't know.
You know, Gyllenhaal's a nomination. You know, Gyllenhaal is a A-list bankable. These guys still, you know, have you said yet, I'm seeing it because it's a Chris Pine movie. It's like we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Our next category is LeBronability. And this is the ability to carry a 30-win team into the playoffs just on sheer stature, talent, everything. And I am going to go. Oh,
Yeah, there we go. I
we
mean,
all agree.
it's kind of a no-brainer.
But it's a no-brainer. Let's be honest here. It's a no-brainer based on one movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And based on one TV show. There is some concern about that character in the Jurassic movie. You'll recall that when that trailer came out of Chris Pratt with Bryce Dallas Howard, none other than Joss Whedon, who was the director of The Avengers, tweeted that he thought the trailer was sexist. And it does. You look at it and you go, wow, he's kind of leering in that. Like who was the quality control person on it? So a lot of people have a lot of hopes for this guy. The pressure's on him, and he's got to, for his sake, he's got to deliver.
I agree. But I mean, if we're just talking about money, I think people will most put their money on this guy.
Especially
to
because
make
he can
them
do
money.
comedy, rom-com,
Well,
action.
if you're going to compare him to a basketball player, he'd be the brow, right? He'd be the brow.
Yeah.
This is the brow right here.
Also, but here's to your point, I think that of these four guys, he's also the glibbest and the one who risks seeming insincere in a way that, like, this guy needs a witness, like, within the next 18 months.
You mean like the Harrison Ford
He
film
needs
Witness,
something
where he's earnest.
Harrison Ford was, he was in danger of being written off as being this slickster movie star. And I think Witness is the movie that made people say, oh, okay, well, this guy can do something
Well, see,
else.
this guy is the one who's in best shape to do those sort of movies.
Oh, yeah, of course.
This is the guy who's more likely to cry in a movie. This is the guy who's like more likely
He's
to show
crying
his feelings.
now. What's going on with
I
his
held a
eyes?
Reese Witherspoon movie against him. What's in the box?
The mythical Reese Witherspoon movie. that
What's
may
in the
not-
box? What's in there?
I think he gives you the best "What's in the box" reaction. I think Chris Pine, I think, will also give you a good "What's in the box."
Next one, congratulations again on how you're using the cards.
Thank you.
I'm really proud of both of you.
We're doing my
the next
best.
category
You
is
spoke
tremendous
too soon.
upside potential. This is the big upside for the next, 10 years. Who is the highest upside?
Oh, okay,
Upside.
well, this guy. This guy
right.
definitely,
Well,
because
let's keep
Spielberg
going.
loves him, because everybody,
Yeah, I
they
mean,
want him to be the new guy, all this. However,
people seem
it's
to-
like, if you
people
talk
really
about
like
a guy who just has the qualities that can keep working, you got to think about this guy. Because he's tied into that Marvel universe. He's got a franchise that's up and running. He's got that international star feel. He's from Australia, so he can play
We'll
all-
never know he's from Australia. He never uses the accent.
Oh, I think he
What's
can.
the point?
Next one is cuckold threat level.
Oh.
And this
He
is
can steal your...
if your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend is drunk and one of these four guys was like, I'll drive them home, how nervous would you be? And for me, clearly,
there's no
question.
No question. No question.
What are you talking about?
Okay, first of all, let me explain some things to you. This guy, married, children,
No.
family man. I'm not worried about Chris
so you're
Hemsworth.
bringing in baggage.
Drive my
You're
man
talking about the
home
real
all
life.
night. I'm not worried. Even Thor. Thor's not going to touch my man. Chris Pine.
That's my man.
Chris Pine. I'm worried about him. He drives nobody home.
Who would you be worried about if it was my wife getting in the car?
Oh.
It's a Grantland party.
There you go.
It's a Grantland party.
He's right there.
Oh, so you changed on gender. That was interesting.
I think no man can be safe in a car with Chris Pine. He's not
Okay.
going to bother you. I trust him.
You trust him? With that accent? Well,
Oh, Boston.
He would feel really bad about it.
Because of the Boston thing.
This guy, he wouldn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
He's just-
I don't.
You just get it done?
Stealth.
Wow.
Okay, then.
I'll tell you this much. I'm not leaving my drunk wife in a car with Chris Hemsworth. Next one, lack of range. Lack of range. I'm just to leave my guy
This
up.
is no
Because I watched him in the Michael Mann movie Black Cat.
No
just 'cause I
contest.
watch all Michael Mann movies, and he was talking with a slice of road accent, and for some reason they didn't make him Australian in the movie, and he was talking like this, and it was awful.
No, lack of range. This is where that accent really will come in handy to correct this problem. I think so much of the thinking, I mean, I'm not Australian. I've never had to act in a movie that did not require me to use the voice God gave me.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a bar psychologically to have to clear that bar and then maintain an accent that's not yours, that millions of people are going to be rolling their eyes at if you don't get it right, or making fun of you for getting it wrong if you screw up. Chris Hemsworth is a person who might be a good actor. I think he's actually good in the second Avengers movie because he's got more to do and he's using an accent closer to his own. I think there's no downside in having him just be Australian in the movies.
It's a sexy
There's
persona.
no downside.
People
love
really love
Australians.
it. It's like, yeah, it's got a built-in sense of humor. It's like it's a nation of lifeguards. You know, they all like they're going to be fun at parties and stuff. So yeah,
He needs a hangover movie that's just him. He needs something that lets him be all the things that you're afraid Carrie getting in the car with will happen in the movie.
Next one, kick-ass ability.
could beat you up.
Yeah. Liam Neeson's been kidnapped. Like, literally in real life, he's been kidnapped. And we need somebody for Taken 4.
The only person I want saving me right here.
Taken 4. I'm
Boston.
with you. Boston in the house.
Boston.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boston.
Wow, Chris Evans is doing better than I thought in this
He
thing.
shaved his beard off, you know.
What was the movie he made with Beale, where they're like,
Jessica Biel?
yeah, it's like kind of they're
Is it
getting
a rom-
along and they're breaking up, and it was like an indie movie.
Oh, is that the paternity thing?
I can't remember, but he's good in that.
He's good.
Bad movie, and they're both good.
Yeah.
I think the first Captain America is still my favorite of the Marvel movies, and I think he's part of the reason why.
I can't wait for your answers for this. Late night TV guest ability. Who's the best late night TV guest? This is a very important part. Selling movie, being likable, staying likable. You got a new era of TV now with the Jimmys and Colbert. Chris Pine.
Come on.
No, he's funny.
I mean,
Chris
he
Pratt's
is
good.
funny. It's so obvious, though.
Pratt's
I
good.
think that
You don't go against the grain.
I'm
You're
not
allowed to go
going.
against the grain.
I'm not going. I believe that he is the best talk show
It's
guest.
all those Parks and Rec episodes.
Yeah.
All that comedy that he did then. It really trained.
A lot of comedy.
And he's got
comedy reps.
He's got the great stories. He's got the stories of growing up. You know what?
He's got great stories.
But I don't want him in the car with you, right?
Yeah, we can come in separate cars. Don't worry.
Last,
I'm gonna need a guy to drive me.
last one, staying power. Who's gonna have the longest run? Who's around 20 years from now? Who's your safest bet?
That's interesting.
That's a good one.
This guy.
I can't find.
I know, it's like they disappear.
Yeah.
It's like you have them and
You
you're
can't
like,
tell
it's
them
like-
apart.
It's like you can't even
Don't even get me started.
Wow, you flipped.
Yeah.
I think just because I think he directs and goes into a whole different part
I
of
think
his
the thing
career.
about him is I don't think he knows what he wants. I think it may all be like too much for him after a while just because he wants to live, to his credit, he wants to live a genuine life, you know, or a life that feels genuine to him, you know. I think this guy has the good looks and just the self-confidence. Like he knows what he can do well, that he'll be able to do it, and he's going to look like this in 25 years.
I also wonder, though, who's casting him to do things and what are they casting him to do? These are 4 people who are in franchises. We should point out. These are 4 people who've been packaged and given to us as part of some larger universe. The question is, which of these 4 guys can most consistently do things that entertain the most people on their own?
The interesting thing is that being in a franchise is not what it was 20 or 30 years ago.
No.
The idea of playing James Kirk where you're only James Kirk, the way it was for Shatner, the way it was for Nimoy, that just doesn't exist anymore. It's like nobody thinks of Scarlett Johansson only as Black Widow. Nobody thinks of Robert Downey Jr. only as the guy who can play Iron Man. It's like these people get to go and make a ton of money and come back and do what they want.
Well, but the question is, do we want to see the things that they want to do? That's the question. I mean,
Well, sure.
we may not think of him as being in a Captain America pigeonhole, but the pigeonhole is either there psychologically or it's a marketplace pigeonhole.
This guy shows, you know, some of the skills. I mean, when I watched People Like Us, it really reminded me a lot of something like Rain Man. You know, he's got a quality where he
no,
can,
he's really good. And I will also say that his Captain Kirk, the first hour of that first Star Trek movie, That is, I mean, I know I'm sounding like I'm being ridiculous, but that was like a best actor. Like, I thought he was so good in the first hour and 15 minutes of that movie. When he sits in the chair and he like has the legs that are just, he's man-spreading. I don't know, there's just something. New York City subway, man. Man-spreading is a whole thing. Can't do it. When you go to jail, you get a fine.
Oh, I guess I heard about that, yeah.
Anyway, I think that guy, he is really talented. I agree with you.
We just think move to the ending.
Do we have any more categories? Because I have a category to suggest.
Okay.
Who causes the most excitement at Comic-Con? When they show up at Comic-Con, who sets it off bigger than anybody at Comic-Con?
Well, this is another rigged Pratt vote.
Yeah.
Really? You think Pratt?
Oh, yeah.
Because he's also
the only person who's going to enjoy it.
He's got the Parks and Rec Street cred,
Yeah,
too,
I think he's of these four guys, he's the guy who's going to go in and kind of be a rock star about it.
Okay.
All right, it's time for us to decide who's the king of Chris. Who will we look back in 2040 and we'll say that they were the king of Chris?
He'll figure it out. He'll figure it out.
I like it.
He'll figure it out.
Wow.
So
I love that you're more in on him than me. I love it more than anybody.
Just so castable.
Yes.
Just so castable. We'll never, we'll never do something that will disqualify him from getting the next
But let
job.
me ask you this: will he be a star?
Well, that's the thing. Needs a hit.
He'll work forever.
Needs a hit.
He'll work forever.
Needs a kind of needs like a career-defining hit.
Because I feel like,
but I feel all right
in
with
3 years he could be like the lawyer on a Boston Legal, as well.
He's still big. He still.
I'm not saying I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean there are too many handsome white guys. Someone's gonna have to hurt.
That's true. You're right. I'll bet on him.
Now, if we're doing Anthony, if we're doing if we're doing too many Idrises in the kitchen, that's a different story. Those Idrises will eat for days, weeks, years, centuries. But this is a crisis.
I hear you.
This is a crisis.
Who do you think I picked?
Evans.
Pratt.
Okay.
I'm going to make my case in 2 sentences. First of all, there's never been a better candidate to be James Bond. Maybe ever. If he's not the next James Bond...
But see, look at where you're going with this.
Yeah,
You're putting him in a sardine can already.
Or the Paul Walker Fast and Furious token white guy role, replacing Paul Walker. He's in one of those 2 lanes. No, Chris Pratt's taking that role?
It can't happen.
If he's not James Bond, then I don't do anything. And I think he'd be the perfect James Bond. If you watch Rush, he's basically James Bond as a race car driver. He's like drunk James Bond.
The point,
he's going to be James Bond.
I mean, the interesting thing between these 2 guys is irony ain't everything.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like every now and then you're going to need a guy
This is the guy who
right
makes sense
Broadway.
the most.
Yeah.
I know what he is. He's James Bond. He's the guy who can be next to Vin Diesel in Fast and Furious. I think I know what these guys are, but I'm not
selling the
positive.
company. I'm buying all the stock and I'm selling the company.
But I'm telling you.
All I can say is I love you, and I'll never feel this way again. Marry me now.
I have to say one thing about the Chris Hemsworth problem, and I just want to reiterate
There's a problem?
There is a problem, and it's like the glut of Australians who get plucked because they look like that. I think here's the thing. If they're allowed to use their accents, and none of them is at the moment, it's just a real problem. I think Joel Edgerton is going to win the best Australian as an American contest. When he goes into those
I don't have cards for that.
I know. I'm just saying that I think that he's got to find a way to talk people into letting him be somebody other than an actor who does accents, because he's never going to be believable.
There's always going to be room for a guy who doesn't talk.
He's a movie star.
This guy's going to talk forever.
He has to talk. He has to talk.
This guy can say, I remember talking to John Woo about Christian Slater when they did that movie Broken Arrow, and John Woo said he doesn't get it. He wants more lines. The whole idea is you're not supposed to talk. That's how you're strong. He doesn't have to talk. They just need a shot of him. They go, I'm going to do what he says.
He's a movie star. Great John Woo name drop. That's it for the King of Chris. As you can tell, we do not have a consensus.
I'm going to miss you guys when you leave.
That's great. We're going to give all of these to Wesley. You can take them home.
Thank you for watching the Grantland Summer Movie Preview. Click here for more videos.